How's it going, everybody? This is BeatTheBush. Today I'm going to talk about how to retire on a blue-collar job. Now I'm going to assume a blue-collar job you make somewhere around 35 to 50K a year. Most people consider 65 the retirement age, but you can be prepared at 65 or you can be very ill-prepared, which means you'll be left with a lot of expenses that you can't pay for. If you set up your life correctly starting from a really early age, then you can probably retire at 65 comfortably. So the typical retirement scenario is this: you save about 10 to 15% every year, you plan to retire at 65, and then average life expectancy is around 78, which means you live for about 13 to 14 years after you retire. Before you actually retire, you have to really consider what you're going to do when you do retire, because if you're just going to retire and do nothing, a lot of people, once they make that switch over, they just kind of like fall down and die because they got nothing else to do, they got nothing to live for, they're not active. And so that's something that you really have to be very mindful about. Retirement means different things to different people. When you actually retire, some people might just want to play golf all day or something. Other people just wants to keep doing, some side jobs or something, which makes things interesting. But if you are planning to just not do anything and just sit at home, a lot of times you can fall ill very easily because you're not active anymore. Your brain slows down because you're not actively using your mind. And those kind of retirement, when you turn into something lazy, it just really shortens it. So you gotta make sure when you do retire, you keep it active and just keep yourself going. So let's begin with the majority of people in the United States, because most people owe money to their credit cards. If you're in debt, it means you got nothing in your savings. It means you didn't even begin to save for retirement yet. Number one, you gotta make sure you're not in debt. Number two, there's a thing called savings rate. It's how much savings you can put into your retirement account every single month. The number three thing is learning how to invest, because once you have those savings, you kind of need to know where to put it in order to grow it some more. Let me put all this in a big chart so we can understand it better. Right here, I drew out what it should look like if you're pretty good with savings. You start out at age 18. Let's say you just graduated high school. You enter into a job field, blue collar work, and this is your after-tax income here. You start making money, okay? And what happens is, yes, your wage increase as you obtain more skills. This is an ideal case. And then it starts to taper off as you get older, and you kind of hit a ceiling doing a blue collar job if you keep on doing the same thing. Let's say you're a welder, you get more and more experience, but then there's a certain cap at which you can earn. So then it's gonna start to taper off like this and remain pretty flat. Maybe it'll keep up with inflation or something. So here's your spending, and you see here I put it at about 50%. So this is a really ideal case here, because most people don't even save 50% of their income. Of course, most people are somewhere over here at 90, 95%, where they're spending most of their income. Most of it is gone wasted into various things. I'm going to talk about later how you actually get from a 95% spending all the way down to reduce your spending to 50%. Assume you can do 50% savings rate. As you earn more money, you're going to be like, hey, I'm going to spend more money because I feel richer. I get all this money, I'm going to spend more, I'm going to, inflate your lifestyle a little bit, because you feel like you deserve it, which is okay. It's nice to reward yourself. A lot of people go overboard, right? They're going to increase their lifestyle proportionally to how much more they earn. They earn another $100 that month, they're gonna blow it off on something. So it's gonna go up like that. So the important thing to keep in mind is to not inflate your lifestyle too much as you earn more, because if you just keep it kind of constant, then the amount of savings that you can get would keep on growing and growing faster. This is your savings, lower line right here. At 18, let's say you have zero, okay? You didn't get any money from anybody, you just started with zero. So then as you're saving 50% of your income, it increases and increases. This first line here is assuming that you don't do any studying of how to invest. Let's just say you just plop it somewhere in a savings account, like under your mattress or something, where it's just earning a meager rate in your savings account. then yes, it's gonna go up linearly. Then after you get enough of a retirement nest egg, you're gonna start to go, hey, you know, I should make the money work for me. When you have a larger nest egg to work with to invest, it's actually worth more of your time, more and more so, to devote more of your time to looking at how to get better yields and things like that. So as you age, you're going to invest more time into your investments, or maybe you can just plop it in an index fund or something and just, you know, do the lazy way, which most people should be doing. And then you can get this other curve here, which kind of exponentially goes up. Let's say your goal is 65, and let's say the retirement dollar amount you need to hit is over here. So yes, if you do everything right, yeah, you're gonna retire at 65, and then over here, once you reach 65, you stop working. Maybe you take on a part-time job or whatever, then you're gonna start reducing your savings like that. And let's say this is 78. Once you reach retirement age, yes, you're gonna start drawing from your retirement account, so it's gonna go down. The best case scenario is where you spend the excess, you're only spending the appreciation so that the principal just kind of stays flat. But you know, sometimes you may not have enough, so then you're gonna start drawing it down. It's gonna go down like this. If your lifestyle is high enough, you're gonna probably draw it all the way down like that so that it goes to zero. That's the ideal case. If you don't want to leave anything to your grandchildren or something, you want to die with absolutely nothing, which is really risky because you don't really know when you're gonna die, then you can, yeah, start drawing it down so that it goes to zero when you reach a certain age. Now you can actually shift your retirement age earlier if you saved up enough early on so that it can satisfy whatever you need after you retire. But this earlier retirement type of thing I'm going to talk about separately because it's a totally different beast if you want to retire early. So going back to what typical Americans are doing, they are making a certain amount here. Let's say this is blue collar work job, and they spend somewhere very close to here or maybe above what they actually earned. It might kind of fluctuate like this or something like this. If you do this your whole life, right, you're going to end up with nothing because your savings is just going to be like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, all the way up to 65. You're going to be saving nothing because sometimes you spend over, sometimes you spend under. Interesting thing about United States is that most people are doing excess consumption, even when you're earning a blue collar job wages, because a lot of times people are buying stuff they actually do not need. Easy way to think about savings rate is that if you save 10% of your income, that essentially means you saved enough to support yourself for 1/9 of a year. Every single year you work, okay, you can retire for 1/9 of a year. That sounds pretty harsh, right? Because every 9 whole years you work, you can have 1 year of retirement. Let's say you work for 40 years roughly, then you would have saved about 4 or 5 years of retirement income, which is, you know, not quite enough to support your whole retirement age. Now, something magical happens when you actually save 50% of your income. If you save 50%, that means half of your income can be used for next year, right? You can actually work 1 year, retire for 1 year, work 1 year, retire for 1 year, or you can just work all the way in the beginning. For a typical working life of 18 to 65, that's about 47 years. It means if you work 47 years, you're going to get 7 years of retirement. Now, if you save 50% of your income every year since you're 18, you're most likely gonna be able to retire somewhere around 48. Okay. Now something even crazier happens if you only spend 10% of your income a year. Now this is really crazy to do. If you look online, there's all these extreme retirement methods where you're actually saving 90% of your income. Now you can either make a lot, which this video is not about, or you can just be very, very frugal. Even if you make a blue collar income, you can still save 90%, although that is super duper hard. Maybe you can push 60%, 70%, something like that. This all entails maximizing happiness and not necessarily reducing your quality of life. Is knowing where to spend your money to get the most bang for your buck. If you're able to bump your savings rate all the way up to 90%, it means every single year that you work, you can live for 9 whole years just based on how much you saved. Now that means you can just only work for 5 or 6 years and then retire the rest of your life with that same standard of living. Now that standard living is going to be kind of low. It's not going to be like a glamorous lifestyle or anything. It's going to have supply, your basic needs, and that's about it. So as you can see, there's a lot of ways to do this. You can retire on time, right at 65. You can retire later, not at all, because you can just keep on working because you really like what you do. Or you can try to retire earlier, but that would require you to adjust your standard of living. The number one thing you need to do to retire on time is to absolutely get out of debt first, because if you're in debt, that means you're not saving anything. Now, how do you get out of debt? If you're living paycheck to paycheck, it just means you're spending too much, because a certain amount comes in and it seems like there's a bill here I need to pay, there's a bill I need to pay there. You just have too many bills. It means you got to cut those bills somehow. There are a lot of creative ways to cut those bills. If you work at it, I'm sure that you can. Let me point out some particular things that you can cut. Regular income from your blue collar job. Of course, it might be a bit hard to obtain rental properties, but if you do, you can have some income there, which gives you more cash flow, positive cash flow. And if you have investment that you got dividends and stuff, and you have investment gains, this comes later if you have more of like a nest egg so that you can actually invest something. Now the outgoing stuff is what's important, because a lot of people just inflate their lifestyle so that they're just spending way too much. A lot of people, they might spend all the way up to their limit of what they earn and then some. Maybe they have a credit card and stuff and they can go over and spend some more of that, just as long as they look at what the monthly payment is, so that if they can afford that monthly payment, they're gonna jump right into it. If it's a mattress or something, oh yeah, only $10 a month? Oh yeah, okay. But the thing is, you have to be very careful, especially with recurring payments. Things like cable bills and stuff like that, they add up year after year. Number one, don't pay interest on loans, especially car loans. I know you probably need a car, absolutely, but you can actually get a used car, and not like a fancy schmancy thing where you actually have to pay a loan, $600 a month or something like that. The interest that you're paying on that is just money wasted. The money that you put in there, it just means you're paying, buying that car at a higher cost than you would normally if you just paid cash. So this is a really bad thing. It's kind of like a current consumption of future money. When you consume something today, you pay a lot more for it than if you save up enough and you just buy it for cash. Everyone knows this. A lot of times you gotta also be careful, not with just various instant things that you buy. You gotta be careful with some things that you buy that might influence you to buy some more stuff. For example, if you buy a game system or something, you're gonna be like, oh, I have a game system. I'm gonna buy like another game. I'm gonna buy a controller. I'm gonna buy a flat screen TV to go with my game system. You probably have one, but maybe you get a bigger TV. Maybe you get like a sound system or something. You get a driving wheel, blah, 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 blah. Some things that when you buy, it invites a lot more spending of other sorts, kind of like accessories and stuff. For example, you buy an iPhone, which it would require you to buy a car charger, a case, and things like that. I'm not saying don't buy a phone at all, but just be very mindful that when you buy something, it has other hidden costs with it. Eating out is a big thing, because a lot of times you can actually make things at home for a lot cheaper. Along with a lot of these things, there's a lot of services you can buy, right? You can order a maid service, you can order a taxi cab and things like that. Incredible amount of services, especially for food. It's a lot of times, the more skill you have, the less services you need to buy. Take fixing your car, for example. I actually don't know how to do any of that before I actually do it. A lot of times I have to just figure it out and just kind of fumble a bit. It may take me a little long, but now I know how to change brake pads, a lot of different things. And now it results in me not needing to go to the mechanic as much, and therefore reducing my expenditure on a service. Another piece to be aware of is things like upgrades to bathrooms or like things like that. You might not think, oh, if I upgrade one bathroom, you know, it's just fine. But then once you do it, you're gonna feel bad about the other bathrooms, you know? You upgrade one and then you go, oh, I wanna make the other ones look the same. So it's gonna invite you to spend more on the other bathrooms. Do know that excessive traveling, you know, it's gonna cost you. Eating out during lunch break, if you do this every single day, most blue collar workers I see, maybe like construction workers, they actually bring their own lunch. The cable bill is kind of like a touchy subject for some people because sometimes you need to watch sports or whatnot, but then there are alternatives. For me, I completely cut that out. I don't watch sports much, so you know, just based on my lifestyle, I don't need the cable bills. It seems like a lot of these things are very normal. They're normal because most people actually do all of these. They just live the life of consumption. When you do that, you're actually spending very close to your income and you're kind of stretching yourself. You may be pretty comfortable, okay, but you're not saving anything. I don't put any numbers here because all of this is more about your mentality of how much you can save. A lot of people, they would go, oh, I'm not willing to give certain things up because they absolutely require it. Let me give an example of a very hard thing to cut out. For example, a cell phone bill. I thought I was never able to cut off a cell phone bill because everyone needs cell phones these days. But somehow I was still able to find this company, Freedom Pop. They're horrible, by the way, because they always try to charge you extra. But then I end up paying, you know, close to, you know, less than $5 a month on the cell phone bill. Not everything you absolutely have to pay for to get an equivalent service of what you would otherwise get. For example, when you eat out, all you have to do is when you eat out, if you like it, you can obtain the skills to make it at home. Yes, it'll cost you some time, but then it's gonna cost you a lot less. You're gonna increase your skills. You're gonna be able to know how to make it once you perfect the recipe. For example, like, I don't know, Korean fried chicken. I actually don't know how to make Korean fried chicken, and it's really good, it's really crunchy and stuff, but I'm sure if I try it a few times, I'm probably able to make something similar. So you can actually retire on a blue collar job. It just depends on how much you want to work at it and how resourceful you are at keeping your standard of living low. Once you're used to a certain standard of living, once you raise it a little bit, it's really hard to go back. So you gotta make sure you don't inflate it too much and just keep it there. So to summarize, if you want to retire early, it's important to kill off your debt as fast as you can. Reduce your actual spending and you take that extra money and put it into your debt so that you're not paying interest on any kind of loans. Once you kill off your debt, it's important to keep your savings rate the same. So don't increase your standard of living or anything. Just keep it where it is, live the same way as before, and you're gonna increase your nest egg little by little. At the same time, you should learn how to do some investment so you can make the most use of the savings that you've generated so that you can enjoy this higher curve of increasing your investment, your nest egg, at a faster and faster rate. So I hope this video helps you. Don't forget to give me a like on my video, comment down below. Let me know if this video helped you at all. And don't forget to subscribe over here. Thanks for watching.